Hey, 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 it's your amigos. What's up, guys? It's Bags, back from a flu vacation. Just a quick PSA, go get your flu shot if you haven't gotten it. I don't care if you're a anti-vaxxer or not. I had the flu for the last week, and it's the worst. My throat's still a little froggy, but we're here. GP, GFDI. What's up, fellas?
What's happening?
What's going on?
It's so great to see my brothers from another. I was just looking at the chart here for a sec. The Qs. I mean, are we ever going to go to higher highs, GP?
Oh yeah.
Looks like shit.
Does it?
I don't know. I'm just trying to poke the bear. I haven't talked to you in a while.
It did. Sure. No, I think it's going to be very, very interesting 2026. I think if you're not watching copper, I think you're going to struggle with 2026. All right, that's my personal opinion. 2025 has been, so I was thinking about this theory that the first year of Trump's presidency and second year have been inversed in this term. Right? So if you look at 2017, it was historically the lowest volatility we've seen ever. We hit a low of 8.56 in the VIX. In 2017, it was a straight grind up to the right.
Yep.
And then 2018, we got a hawkish Fed. We got a hawkish whatever. And so I think what you're going to see next year is what 2017 looked like. And this year was very reminiscent of what 2018 was, right? We had this massive move down in 2018, right? We tried to recover, and then we had another kind of move down at the end, right? Until Christmas Eve, where Trump made the call to Jay Powell, and we changed the hawkish regime, and we went up. So that's one of my theories in general, but all of these theories lead to one road for me, which is higher. But not higher in all the names that you might be holding. Let me be very, very clear. If you, we talked about this at the beginning of last year, or this year actually, how MAG is most likely going to underperform, or the FANG names are going to underperform other names. And the broad base, everyone wants participation until they see the MAG names be weak. And then it's like, well, the MAG names are weak, there must be something wrong. The rest of them are. No, we've been rotating consistently. If you look at the themes from the last 2 or 3 years, we've been rotating and getting breakouts in all the things that have base for many, 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 many decades or years or whatever. This year is the year of metals, right? We talked about silver a couple of months ago. Silver just broke out of a 47-year base, and what did it do? It only ripped face as people continued to short, and shit, man, it's still ripping face right now after yesterday's move. I think silver is going to pause here, but you're looking at copper, which is coming out of a 17-year base. Regional banks coming out of a 17-year base, right? Like, this is all post GFC. ExxonMobil, look at what ExxonMobil is doing while oil is been in a 3-year downtrend, right? So overall, I think if you're in certain names, you're going to be very frustrated, as you probably were this year as well. You got to be in the right names, in my opinion. I'm looking at names that have bases, because these base breakouts have been working. And if you look at the names that, like, Bags, one name that you talk about, ROKU. Roku has essentially done nothing in almost a decade, right? It had that moment in COVID, but outside of that moment, it's pretty much gone nowhere since 2018.
I can get on my Roku shit right now if you want me to, but I'm going to.
No, but I mean, like, you just got like, I think if you're in the mag names right now, you're going to have to rotate through the mag names. I don't think they're just general up and to the right, in my personal opinion. So right now, the mag names that look good, that look like they're about to launch, are Microsoft and Meta, right? Microsoft is flagging right above the 200-day, and Meta
I think
is.
Amazon looks the best of the bunch.
Amazon looks great too, I think.
I have yet to see Amazon have a trending move, and if it does, I'll get on board. But this is one of those.
I appreciate that. You had the same argument in Google earlier this year, right? And Google was one of them that had been a laggard for a long time. And my argument, and it is, I still contend this, that of the names of the Mag 7 who have their hooks more in logistics and everyday digital life outside of Meta than Google and Amazon, there isn't one.
Yeah. So like I don't deny that Amazon does not look good. It's similar. It's consolidating above a 5-year base, right? Like it looks great. This to me, Amazon is very similar to our gold conversation that we had in 2023. Once it breaks 2100, just stay long, right? But until then, you're going to get chopped to bits. If you have patience, fine. But to me, on trades and stuff that I want to be in terms of momentum, I need to see better action on stuff. So I know that Meta more than Microsoft moves pretty hard when it does move pretty hard, right? Sure. So to me, that's why I say Microsoft and Meta, because when they move pretty well. Amazon, even when it moves, has been kind of miserable. It
really hasn't moved, though, is my take, though. I think that move is coming, just like Google hadn't moved for a long time, right? It was up and to the right, but slowly, painfully slowly, until it was gone. And that's my contention on Amazon as well.
Yeah,
I firmly believe that.
It's just like if you've been watching the markets, Nick probably more than you've been, but we've pretty much done jack shit in 4 months, right? So like in stuff that's not momentum, and if you're swing trading or momentum trading or options trading, this stuff is killer for your account. So that's the perspective for a lot of this stuff, is like what can actually move out of here. For me, it's those names. Amazon, if it starts to clear, to me, it doesn't need to clear all-time highs, but it needs to clear the pivot high from earlier this year, which is, I think, 243.
I was going to say like 244,
yeah. So like if that gets reclaimed, and it gets reclaimed with like power, then I will start paying attention more. But until then, it's not the setup that for me causes momentum, right? So there's accumulation, there's a lot of stuff that goes on here. It's just not in the momentum category yet. And every time I try to think it's going to be, it slaps me in the face. So that's probably another reason why.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's going to continue to be a stock picker's market, no matter how the Qs or the mag names move, which I think is difficult for most passive guys. Like it's going to, because if you're taking a passive approach, you're not really on top of like scanning and watching the rotation. So it's like, I don't know. You want to be, I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that. I think it's going to continue to be a stock picker's market. I think the in-play names are going to continue to be the like space, the robotics, all the kind of like weird sci-fi shit coming. But I agree on your take on Amazon. It's just I also think like it's in the range. So yeah, until you get it moving, you run the risk of just basically being in dead money.
Yeah, I like time frame, right? We always have the time frame discussion, whether it's us or who we're trying to explain things to. And GP's coming at it from an active trader, and I come at it from an active long-term investor point of view, right? And if I look at 2026, I like my odds with my eggs in the Amazon basket than in Microsoft, which has already run up. It's come down recently, but up until what, October, it was one of the leaders of the entire market.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it on like pretty much all time frames, like Amazon to me, it looks like one of the best setups, like current setups, like ready to take off. Whereas, like, if you're getting involved in, like, let's say Meta or Microsoft, it's already trending. So it's like the move coming in Amazon could be pretty explosive if it takes favor. I guess Tesla too. I don't know, is Tesla a mag name?
Pardon me, and my hoarseness and my coughing.
Tesla's a penny stock.
What's that, GP?
Tesla's a penny stock.
It behaves like one, if that's what you mean.
I mean, it's a penny stock, right? Like it's all these people who are momentum traders and know it moves. Like we've talked about this a lot in terms of Tesla. It's like everyone's like, you know, bringing out their pom-poms, like, oh, look, I called a 15-point move down or a 20-point move down. I'm like, guys, this is the ATR, right? Like today you'll be right, tomorrow, like, and people are like, oh, it's EPS related, all this stuff. It will go when it goes. It is not a typical trader. It does not move based on whatever assumptions you have in the short term. Long-term earnings drive it all. It will always drive it. Markets are forward-looking. It is still a penny stock when it trades, and it can lose 10 points in the last 15 minutes, right? Like this is a $1.5 trillion stock that will lose 2% on a single candle for no reason at all. So, like, great, you called short-term stuff and whatever. You've been right, and then at some point you'll be wrong, where you'll try to short and you get your face ripped off. This is one of those positions, like your Amazon for me, is you build, right? Like,
yes,
you build over time, and then when it starts to move, you start to trim. And I'm not talking about the first 100% or whatever it is that you're comfortable with trimming. You trim when like people are like, oh my God, I want the 2020. It's gonna be like that. Were you trading Tesla in 2020? Because it wasn't straight up. It went from like in that time frame, right? This is pre-split. We hit $925, I think, pre-split, and then into COVID we tagged 350. That's a 60% move down in a stock, right? It's like, okay, that was COVID related, fine. Then 4 months later, in October, November, whatever it was, until the S&P inclusion happened, it went from 170 to 110. Once again, losing 60% in a uptrend. If you think you can call Tesla perfectly and it's an easy ride, I guarantee you're lying through your teeth, right? Like, maybe you are. Maybe you're the one person out of a bazillion that can do it. But this thing has 50 to 60% moves all the time. It's not a genius conversation, right? It's how it trades. It's awful. But part of volatility, we've talked about this as well, is volatile stocks end up being fairly rewarding if you can get through the gut-wrenching moves, right? That's my thesis in HIMS, right? HIMS has been a disaster for the last 4 months, but
since Oktoberfest.
Pretty much, right? Pretty much. And so, but I pivoted my trading, right? So people are like, oh, you're doing metals now. I'm like, I've never done metals really, because they've never really done anything. They're trending. You got to be long, right? If you want to make money in this market, you got to find where your edge is and take it. That's me.
So Nick,
and everyone's miserable in the crypto trade, right? It's like, oh, crypto is going to bounce. No, crypto's apathetic. There is no, and that may change as soon as January 1st hits or the new year hits tomorrow. But right now it's apathetic. So you sitting there wallowing about how crypto sucks for the last 3 months, you're missing all the other stuff. This is the underlying bigger conversation of preserving mental capital.
So
Bruni talks about it quite a bit. About, you know, a lot of FinTwit is wrapped up in like finding the next setup, like the next name that is in an existing setup, whether it's a range or flag or whatever. He talks more about like finding names that are already trending, that have already broken out, and just getting involved in the trend. I think it goes to your point about like metals, or, you know, waiting for gold to hit all-time highs, or, you know, whatever, that like kind of same thing we were pointing out with Amazon. It's like, yeah, I don't know. I've been consuming more and more of his content recently, and I've been very appreciative. Tom Bruni.
Tom Bruni, yeah, he's great. He's just even keeled about stuff.
And I don't want to relitigate our you know, stage one base plays here, but at the same time, like, I think you can be involved in those names. I have been successfully involved on those names, and more times than not, those stage ones are my biggest winners, and I rarely have losers from them. So I don't disagree that you take the thing that's trending, but my specific expertise has been finding what is a value mispriced asset that is in a growth category and buying it in stage one. And yes, for a year or 2 years, that can be a brutal trade, but it gives me plenty of time to accumulate and get in a winner. Are there guarantees that those become winners? Absolutely not. But if we want to bring ROKU back up,
well, that's kind of an institutional money management mindset, or an institutional mindset, where it's like, yeah, using the base to accumulate. You definitely have the conviction in whatever name that you're in over the long term, or over a longer time frame than I think most guys on FinTwit that are either short-term momentum traders or even swing traders.
Yeah, and I'm not saying what one person does is wrong or right. And again, this is one thing that we came away with so heavily from our trip to Coronado, right? Was everybody does things different, and as long as you're happy with your processes and your outcomes, then it doesn't matter. But for me, if I like ROKU right here. I've liked ROKU since way back here, right? I think I made that my play back in May or whatever. And it's only what, 50% since then. But then the key is for it to break out. And I'm not making the claim that ROKU is going to go back to 490, whatever up here. But
is it your 2026 pick?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, all right.
We'll find that out tomorrow.
Yeah, we will.
I think you've already made your picks, right? Or
no, I changed.
You got off the Moderna wagon.
Yeah, I did. I'm gonna go with a China name, actually.
Anyway, I'm not saying ROKU all of a sudden goes to $500 from here. I'm saying this setup is the exact same setup as this setup was, and so many other setups are. I think that this at least gets to the 170s. And if I'm going to poo-poo, what is that, a 70% gainer from here on a stage 2 breakout, why wouldn't I want to be involved on things that I think have a long-term proposal, such as a SOFI or coin, right? GP, we were both in coin and from the 50s. So why wouldn't I want to be involved in stage 1 breaks if I know it's a good company, as opposed to waiting on something to trend? And I know it might be a question of time frame, and there's no right or wrong to spin that. But yes, I would much rather be involved in ROKU in stage 2 than stage 1, because the underlying business is completely different than some of the other names that I've been involved with for my long-term portfolio.
So that's long-term investing, and I understand that. But you
Yeah,
can
no, we're talking about your trading, and it's different.
even in this, right? Like, so let's say Roku, like let's say you have 30% in Roku, right, in your account, in your long-term account, and
I have
you
a
wait 2 years.
position.
Yeah, 30%.
Okay.
Whatever. Who cares? Let's say 10%. I don't really care about the number, but let's say, but that's 10% of your capital that does nothing for a couple of years, right? And then finally breaks out, gives you your 70% total. What I'm saying is, even as a long-term investor, having some active positioning to help you deal with the mental capital, because what happens to a lot of people, stage bases, people, you're paying attention to technicals, that's great, but 9 out of 10 people don't know technicals at all, or stage bases, right? So from that perspective, it's like, when it breaks out is when they sell. This is the human psychology. It's like, oh, if I've been holding this for 3 years and it finally broke out. Or the worst is it breaks out and immediately retests, and they're like, oh my God, it's going to fail. I don't want to lose money. And they end up taking profits at like 5-10%. And then they watch it go nuts.
Yeah.
Right. So some of that stuff, like to actively manage that stuff, I think T Stock Picker does it a lot. He has active trading shares and core holding shares, right?
Sure.
And so let's say we do 2 accounts and split that. Like you hold your Roku position as is, but knowing that you can actively, and actively, I don't mean like every day. I mean, it gets to the top of the range.
No, that's my torque positions, right? As
I was just gonna ask about that. Yeah.
I have long-term holdings that I buy into constantly, but then I have the torque positions that you can call them a sister trade or a brother trade or a cousin or whatever that's beside whatever that holding is, right? Yep. I've got SOFI up here. I've been involved with SOFI since basically $15, right? And I bought all of this. And that doesn't mean when I buy all of it that all of a sudden SOFI from, let's say, $10 is all of a sudden a quarter of my entire portfolio. No, I'm trying to buy and accumulate as much as low as I possibly can. And then when it pops, I can sell some, and then I buy some more later. So that now this is basically a free company for me to hold because I've taken all the profit out. It's completely de-risked, right? But it is 5% roughly of my portfolio from $5 now. Now going back to the torque plays, and I can pull some up here for you. AMD, probably my biggest torque play that I've ever had, right? I've been involved with semiconductors for a very long time, and I don't plan on being not involved with semiconductors, regardless of what GP thinks is going to happen in 2026. But this has been a torque play. So I buy some, I sell some. I buy some, I sell some. I never get out of the full position. But this is what gives me money to buy other things like more Amazon, like more SOFI, right? So you have to have other positions on that are generating money. You can't just have them sit there and do absolutely nothing, because then when it's time to buy, you have no money to buy anything.
Yeah, you have to be able to stack gains, right? Like,
yes.
And rotate out, even like, or you buy the S&P, right? If you want to be that passive, you buy the S&P over time, right? Or the Qs or whatever. But to me, it's like you have to take profits and stack gains to build your account, especially if you're starting small.
Okay, that was I didn't expect us to go there today, but hey, that's what happens when we miss each other for a week. Hey, Nick.
I think it's just 20. It's wrapping up 2025, right? I think that's 2025 has been a very bullish, but
it's been a weird year. Yeah, it's been a weird year. And GB, I think similar to what you were saying, I completely agree with you. I think this year, 2026, will be a climb. It'll be a grind higher. I'm not saying that for the reasons why you necessarily think it'll be that way. But I think we grind higher. It's going to be a wall of worry. We continually climb in 2026. But Nick, I put on some more crypto yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that.
Yeah, no, I want your take because you seem so interested in it.
It's tough. I got excited, you know, obviously a couple weeks ago, especially when Ethereum I thought was going to kind of break out of that double bottom. And so far we've actually held those lows. Obviously I like Ethereum a little more over 3,000, 3,100. Yep. And I like it a lot better, you know, above the 200-day. But I don't know. I don't really have a strong opinion, I think, in one way or the other in crypto right now. I think that there's a potential for either direction, whether we hold here or for whatever reason decide to leg down. I don't have enough, I don't know, wherewithal to really like.
There's nothing that makes you convicted to want to trade it right now.
Yeah, and like I said, like, you know, Bitcoin and Ethereum, like I dollar cost average and it's just an auto thing. So like it really doesn't make a difference to me. If we go lower here, I just will end up buying more. If we go higher, I'm gonna end up buying more. It doesn't really matter. I look at crypto largely as an insurance policy for the future. Like, I think the phrase like you're definitely not early, but you're not late, I think applies to crypto because I don't know. I mean, you look at like the weekly chart of like, you know, Bitcoin, and I could totally make an argument or a point that its next stop is like 400,000.
Yeah.
You know, like that's the high end of
or 40,000
or yeah, right. Like if it decided to go on a run here, like what's stopping it from going to the high end of the channel is from right here is 585,000 if it went like just basically parabolic. At the same time, like if it decided to leg down, the low end of the channel, I've got like right around 50 to 58,000. So it's like, I don't know what the catalyst necessarily is that's gonna kind of allow it to pick a more definitive direction one way or the other. But if you look at like, I think I've kind of spoken to this before, but the reason I would be leaning to the upside versus the downside currently is just being how tight all of the weekly closes have been.
Look at that, Nick.
If it was a more choppy, like wide range in those weekly closes, I'd be like, okay, this is much more bear flag behavior. Whereas you get those tight closes, I could probably argue some form of accumulation.
GB, do you think that's bear flag behavior on the weekly here?
No, not at all. It's apathy, right? Like,
yeah, exactly. Like it's indifference. It's like, I don't know. Like I think they're literally wearing people out through time and just chopping up and down. So it's like,
keep going with that thought. Keep going. You're almost there.
I'm just saying, like, that's why I would be leaning to the bullish and the upside resolution from here as opposed to the downside. And I guess really where my head is at is like, what's the pain trade currently in crypto? Is it another leg down? Is it not? But again, even if it is down, I think it's very limited. Like it's like a one final flush to like really just knock the other leg out from whoever's involved that is probably still levered up.
So Nick, you were nibbling around the edges of my thoughts on purchasing yesterday.
Sure.
You guys love the IWM. You still love the IWM? You guys still in small caps?
Yeah.
I like it, but it behaves like trash.
Yeah, totally.
It is. It's the shit go index, right?
Yep.
So if you go back and look at the last time the IWM broke out to its prior all-time highs before it's been in this base for the last 3 years. See what else broke out with it. But number 2 is
You talking about what IWM
when IWM broke out in 2001.
2001. Okay.
20,000. This whole section right here. Yes, it was free money, but it's been in this range since then, right?
Yep.
See what else broke out. Then go see what broke out when it broke out in 2016. I'll just leave those nuggets for you there. Getting back to why I bought, Nick, you hit the central nervous system was the apathy, right?
Yep.
So everybody gets tired, everybody gets worn out, sentiment gets washed out, and then what happens in the markets usually? It turns, right? When nobody's expecting it, when everybody's tired of it, when nobody wants to hear it, that's when it goes. So I put a bet on that it's going to resolve higher. Maybe not back to all-time highs, but highs from here. So I dollar cost average on my Bitcoin that I've been accumulating over the past, I don't know how many months. But I took a sizable piece of Bitcoin yesterday. I added some sizable Ethereum. And then my 2 other long holds, Solana and Chainlink, I also bought. So I didn't buy any other shit coins. I bought the things, the four tokens that I have the highest conviction in. And part of it is just because the way this downtrend is also looking, Nick. You mentioned all these weeklies smashed here together. At any point in time, the market could have taken this down further if it really wanted to, right? Regardless of what your idea of ETF involvement is in these things, regardless. Like if the market wanted to take this down further, if they don't like Michael Saylor, if they don't like strategy, whatever, they have had how many opportunities to drag this at least down to 70, right?
Yeah.
And they haven't. And that doesn't mean it can't happen. That doesn't mean it can't happen. It doesn't mean I can't get rugged. But at the same time, everybody is so apathetic and tired of the crypto trade. Usually that brings at least mean resolution of the trade, right? And that would put you back up above, let's say 100, 105 area on Bitcoin.
Look at what they did to the Sailor in 2020, right? He announced mid-August 2020 that he's buying Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I believe it was mid-August.
Oh man, Mr.'s testing just basically sitting there right on the low of that high volume candle back on December 1st. Interesting.
Yes, Nick. And regardless of what, and this, I don't want this to become a strategy conversation, regardless of what you think about Michael Saylor and regardless of what you think shorts or longs are doing to him and doing in the ETF space to manipulate the price of these crypto tokens. I think we are in for a surprise that they are valuable and that people want to be involved with them. And when I say people, I say institutions.
Yeah. I think that's there's no comparison to. A lot of people want to talk about Bitcoin cycles. I don't think those exist anymore.
I think they're broken to a large extent. Yeah.
They're just not. They're not. Those crypto cycles work because that was retail psychology, right? Like it wasn't institutional. It was retail. Institutional is really matter of fact on how they do stuff in general, right? On a broad based stuff, right? So, it's been higher highs and higher lows in Bitcoin since the bottom, since we talked about coin, right? At 55. Yeah. And so in my general thesis I posted about this weekend is like, there's too many comparisons to the 4-year cycle. The 4-year cycle doesn't exist anymore. This is the maturity or the maturation, as people would say, of an asset class. And the maturation of an asset class is it goes through withdrawals, it goes through downwards and stuff like that, but it
goes through different people's involvement too, right? It goes from the early people who are involved to all of a sudden institutionalized, and those early people a lot of times get out because they've either lost or made an exorbitant amount of money, but now it's someone else's turn. And does that mean that all of a sudden people are going to get thousands of percent gains in weeks and days? No, but that doesn't mean that the trajectory is dead.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about this in lots of detail on why I hate new IPOs, right? Like new IPOs, the first big move out the first 6 months when they're in lockup and all that's kind of evolved a little bit over the last few years, but mostly before that was 6-month lockup is when they can sell, and then they pump the hell out of it. This is VCs getting out. These guys are up 10, 20%, 20x. They don't want anything to do with it. They cash their cow, they're done. And what happens is that new investors come in. But new investors don't come in at the highs. They wait for those VCs to sell down and lockup to happen and bases to build. And when those bases build, they like Palantir is a good example, right? Off the charts IPO, then death and nonstop death, got to like $5, and now people can't get enough of it. These are IPO bases, right? So you want to like, we talked about Meta as well. I think last week, Nick, we talked about Meta when you were out, which is it opened at $100 billion IPO and then went all the way to a $50 billion IPO or less, right? And everyone knew that Meta was most likely going to crush it, but it still took a 50% haircut because these are the cycles. VCs get out, new investors come in. They say, hey, I see the long-term trajectory. I want to be a part of this, but I don't want to buy all the way up here.
I don't want to buy $120,000 Bitcoin.
Yeah. And they're going to bring it down. So to me, this is like the IPO stage breakout for Bitcoin, right? If that makes sense in terms of theorizing stuff. It has basically done awesome over the last 15 years, outperformed every like I see people talking about this year, gold, silver, copper, up 50%, up 70%, up 150%, and shitting on crypto. Oh, it's red for the year. And I'm like, yeah, like you guys had one good year. Crypto's done it for 15, especially Bitcoin. And you're talking about hundreds of thousands of percent, not 50%. So you talk about short term. Anyway, yeah, the sentiment is.
You asked me why. I think the time. You're exactly right. We're at a decision point, right? And I'm betting that the decision is going to be higher from here. But if it's not, I didn't put all my money to work at the same spot, right? So I didn't really buy anything up here. I called the bottom in altcoins back in the spring, right? So I'd put money to work. Where's Ethereum? I'd put money to work way back here, right? So I am ready to buy more if it comes lower. I just don't think that we're going to get much lower if we get lower.
Yeah, I don't even think we're like the ranges are contracting. They're not expanding, right? We already got the expansions.
Volume is drying.
Yeah.
You got questions? So, answers.
No, I'm just pondering, with like with Powell, when does that come? That comes in May.
Powell is out in May.
I'm just wondering if crypto direction really takes hold when we see who is going to replace him.
Well, the news I saw this morning is Trump's potentially thinking of suing to have him have to vacate earlier so he can install something.
God, for real?
Yes.
Can he do that?
No.
I mean,
he can do whatever he wants.
Sure. Will the courts allow it? Who knows? Will he do it anyway? Who knows, right? I think a lot of the macro depends on the way Twitter fingers feels, as long as he's got his Cheetos stains all over it. I don't know.
Yeah, that kind of plays into my larger, GP's comment earlier. All signs pointing up. I think the more loud and like there's so much, the noise continues to get louder and louder, and I think the more the distractions that are out there, like the more bulled up I get, and it's like it kind of feels like going back to the cues and you asking like when the F are we going to break out of this range? Like we're on what, week 15 or 16 now of this chop range, and it's like, God, we're just building energy. Like we're like it's just like the ball is like bouncing faster and faster within this like range that we're in, and I it could be yeah, sure, it could be a grind higher, but I think for stock pickers, I think it's going to be a fucking awesome year. Even if we do get a meaningful like pullback or correction, like, because we could very well, like, you see people call corrections and call bear markets or pull-ins, but if you look at a chart and look at where we're at, where you think we might be going, if we break out of this on the Qs, so like basically the measured move out of this is a 585 to 635. So that puts us like, let's just say, I don't know, near 700. If we pulled in from there back to kind of like where we're at now, or even like the mid 650s, by that time, the 30 and the 40-week moving average will have caught up and surpassed where we're currently sitting in price. And it would look phenomenal. So like perspective and time frame matters. And I don't know. The more this kind of shit kind of drags on, the more bulled up I'm getting.
So, GB, you gave your thesis on why you think 26 is going to be the way it is. The reason why I think 26 is going to be the way it'll be is earnings power has not decreased in the slightest. And regardless of who you're looking at, whether you're looking at the mags, which I look a lot at, or you're looking at some of the other names, earnings are increasing. We cannot have a significant doomer scenario until earnings begin to collapse. Now, we won't know that until the rear view, right? We won't know that until we see companies report quarter after quarter. But for the last 4.5 years, almost 5 years now, every quarter has been better for the most part for the biggest companies in the world continually, right? So it's hard for me to put a scenario together that all of a sudden, regardless of how economic data looks and regardless of how cooked the books are and whose source of truth you believe, until the companies start reporting terrible or suboptimal earnings on consecutive basis, we are going higher.
Yeah, fundamentals drive, right? And that to me that totally tracks in terms of, if you're watching copper, like, it's the metal that matters, right? Silver, gold, is that everyone's like, that was the funniest thing about the last couple of weeks, has been silver and gold are telling you a story. Yes, the story is that it's breaking out of a 40 to 50 year base. Like, there's no narrative here. It is momentum, and it's doing. But the narrative really truly holds if copper starts to break out. And copper starts to break out, there's a reason it was called Dr. Copper. It is a driver of all things economic, right? And so if copper is starting to move higher, then demand is increasing, and that means your earnings are going to grow over time, right?
Are you in any of the individual copper names, like Southern or FCX? Okay.
Rio, we talked about this in bullish engulfing years, 17 years inside the 2008 candle. This is the base that I want to be a part of. SCCO is the alpha name in this space, but alpha names go both ways. I like Rio because it's got a 5% dividend, and it's steady Eddie, right? So that's where I want to be with.
So while I say that I don't think I'm on board with any doomer scenario, last year at this time I was screaming to the top of my lungs that we're going to have a significant pullback. I still think we're probably going to have a pullback in Q1. When that is going to happen, I don't know, but I think it's going to be run of the mill. But I think everybody is going to be petrified and terrified, as they usually are, when you see something fast and scary and deep, right? So a 10% correction at any time is kind of like status quo. So I don't think we're nonstop up from here. I would expect to see some type of give back early in 26, but as everything else, it's not going to make me sell down any of my positions significantly. And any dip should, in my opinion, is going to be a buy the dip.
Yeah. I can see that for sure. Yeah, I think that's overall that's general consensus that we'll get dips, of course, right? But I think where we're going is we're in the roaring 20s. The thing I will tell you is what concerns me, and we've talked about this many times, is financials are usually the last leg. But financials haven't started. As in,
Did you
like,
see what Tom Lee mentioned about financials?
Yeah, he said they'll be like MAGA. I'm
like
sorry,
growth stock. Yeah,
like growth stock. But he's not telling you that that's going to be in regionals, not the big banks, right? So, like, he keeps copying me, so it makes sense. All of a sudden, he's got a 7,700 target. When we talk about the 7,700 target, 2023, guys. Anyway, it's what I will say is financials are the last leg in most bull markets, long-term secular bull markets, right? And that's typically the case. Deregulation, all that stuff. Deregulation leads to bad actors and bad behavior and all that other stuff. That's kind of what we're approaching. But the thing is, regional banks haven't even started, right? Like, it's still sitting within 10% of the GFC highs. And we've been consolidating at this level for multiple years now. So I think 2026 will be pretty bang on in terms of up and to the right. And I think you start to see some probably relaxing into 2027. And I'd be concerned about how we start to behave after that, right? Or towards the end of 2026. But yeah, dude, like the regional, there's so many things that are pretty much sideways for 17 to 20 years. So many things, right? We talked about Rio, we talked about ExxonMobil, we talked about KRE, we talked about copper. Silver and gold have just, gold was earlier this year, silver is now participating. So all these base breakouts, one by one, are showing you that they're happening. It might be a little funky dunky, but they're happening. They have been happening, right? Even like, so Unity is one I have on my name of great performers of 2025, right? Along with RIVN. But I think everyone now thinks RIVN, so I second guess that crap all the time. But Unity still no one talks about. But this is a stage 1 base breakout with a retest, right? Yeah. And so I did buy this one in a stage base bet. I bought it at 29, but I brought it towards the seeing all the volume and seeing that it's most likely going to trend higher from here, right? So I bought it in the top part of the stage 1 when it's ready to go. But this is the stuff that, these are the IPO bases. This is the accumulation. This is the retest. You got everything that's setting up for some of these names across the board. And so I I have long Microsoft and Meta, but if I get my measured moves, I'm out of those and I will be repositioning elsewhere and using those names, the FANG names, to generate capital and allocation cash in 2025 so I can put towards my positions. That's my thesis and thought process going into 2025. Use the FANG names to generate cash, use that cash to buy positions I want to be in.
Nick, what other names do you like? I like Unity. I think it looks great.
I like all the space names. So I still like Lunar a lot. I like ASTS. I like Rocket Labs. I like ONDS. ACHR and Joby continue to disappoint. I don't have either of those on. I like, shoot. Oh, I was gonna say, China names are definitely perking up. I like XPEV a lot. That's still stage 1 base. I think XPEV above 2550-ish. I think it's got room to run. I mean, it'd be a double and not even taking out all-time highs. I'm liking Baidu a lot here, and I like Baidu almost more than Baba. Although Baba, Baba looks good to me too on the weekly time frame. I like the setup in Baidu currently better. Although the descending kind of triangles I have drawn on Baidu is a little bit wider and choppier than Baba's. Baba's kind of coming out of that stage 1 base versus Baidu not so much, but yeah, I love the space names. Like I like the story there. I like the sci-fi thought to it, and I think that it's going to become a reality. I think especially if they continue to pound the table on like power and energy, and then talking about keeping these these data centers cool. Solar's obviously up there, and I think silver and solar are closely tied, but I don't know, man. Like if they start, we've already got all the satellites and shit. Like how far off is it before they actually start building other stuff out there that I don't even know, dude. I don't have the language or the verbiage to even really talk about it. It just sounds fucking sweet to me. But I think, yeah, all those kind of space names are putting in 3, 4, and kind of 5-week tight at the high end of their move right now. So I think they're setting up for another leg higher. Trying to think of what else I like. I think some of the robotic stuff looks good. I forgot we didn't mention FTAI in the names with the aerial stuff. FTAI broke out today, and it's kind of pushing up against 200. I obviously like that one quite a bit just because I love expensive stocks.
Looks good.
And I think if it can push and hold highs, certainly get above 200, the round number, I think it's got room to run to, I think 300 is probably the next spot it's going to kind of push into. Planet Labs, that one looks another one that's going on its third tight week. Whether it wants to continue or not right here, I guess we'll kind of see. I know, so GE continues to look good. Jev also went 3-week tight despite its volatility. The volatility kind of hit that name in the last by 2.5 weeks ago now. But I think Jev's getting ready to run to 1,000. I think those names like Jev, Sedge, VRT, VST, I think are all names that you're going to want to continue to pay attention to. VST, I don't like as much, being that it's below all of its longer term moving averages, but VRT, for instance, it went 3-week tight and it's kind of resting right above its 30 and 40 week moving averages. Sedge is kind of stuck in a range, but it's kind of tightening up here as well, which a lot of these names have had massive runs. So it's kind of like, are we waiting for, the trend to resume higher, or are we going into a dead money period? We don't really know yet. Once we see,
I think we're waiting for the January effect. I think we're just waiting for the calendar to change.
Yeah, for sure. I think so too. And I think discussing stage one bases along with names that have kind of been chopping around going sideways, we should start to see some definite resolution come January, I would imagine.
Look
HSI,
at
yeah, Randy, that one looks phenomenal too. I have that on my watch list, but I don't have any alerts set on it.
Look at TBLA.
TBLA?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. What is Taboola? I like the name.
They are an online commenting and the data research company.
Look at the quarterly. Look at the quarterly on this.
I don't know anything. To work with Taboola a little bit, Nick.
Yeah, I like it.
This is one that caught my radar this weekend. I don't know anything about it, but that looks really good. We cannot get Can you bring up the NQ chart as well?
But Taboola, they basically put sponsored articles in your blog feed or those around the web recommended boxes. That's kind of their thing. The NQs, you said, GB?
Yep. Go to the hourly and draw a horizontal line at 25,700.
25,700.
This is that 25,700?
Roughly. Yeah.
This is the level. This is the China trade level. This is what we've been consolidating, and some people look at it as distributing, but this is the China gap up level. Like if you go all the way back to October 24th or whatever. Yep. And look, you can actually just watch the charts every single day this week, every single day last week. We get slightly below under 25,700. Boom, we come back up to 25,700, cross over, come back down. Whatever this algorithm, you talk about the calendar. The reason I bring this up is the calendar flip, right? Like we've been doing this for months now, just back and forth at this level. And so hopefully the calendar flip says, okay, enough of this level. And then we push higher. But and this goes a little, I'm trying to tie it all in because this is the China gap up. Nick, you talked about China looking good. This is all part of the thought process here is we've been holding this level. This is the China-US trade deal rumors. Maybe we get some more clarity or more resolution or more something in the next 2 days, magically on January 2nd. But yeah, so this is like you have your thoughts about macros, but the technicals also kind of support it. That was my whole point here and why I wanted to talk about it. It's just yeah, we're just sitting at this level. You can, if you go to the 4-hour chart, Ben, at this, you can see it so clearly that it's like a magnet. It has been a magnet for months now. Right. And so what was resistance over the last couple of months has now become support. And if that is now support and that China news comes in, anyway, thought process. We have FOMC minutes in about an hour. A lot of Fed, blah, 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 more blah. And
we have New Year's Eve Community to Rip tomorrow at 1 p.m. at our new time on StockTwits. So we look forward to seeing you guys there. Thanks for being in the chat. Hey, I don't have a dad joke for today, and I'll go first, which is out of my wheelhouse on last thoughts for today. But I've been reading while I've had time being sick when I wasn't feeling like I was dead. But one of the things that really resonated with me, and I brought up earnings earlier, which I'm not, you guys know that I'm not a fundamental guy, but I use them to help me guide things. But I was reading more about Peter Lynch, and kind of this is what you guys warned me about last year when I was saying that I'm taking money off the table to look to buy lower. Peter Lynch once said, far more money has been lost by investors preparing for corrections or trying to anticipate the corrections that has been lost in the corrections themselves. So just as a word of warning, you can think the sky's falling and everything is Chicken Little. But chances are you're not that guy to be able to make the move to nail the bottom or nail the top. So the best course of action is to just stay steady. That's my word of advice. That's my last thing for today. GP, what do you got?
Happy New Year. If you don't get a chance to pay attention to tomorrow's show, happy New Year, guys. Keep your head on a swivel in 2026. It is setting up to be, in my opinion, of course, a great year. And the more you're in your head, the worse you'll perform.
Amen.
Ain't that the truth? Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know, less is more right now. You know, we're in a range, and especially for directional and momentum guys, this is when, you know, we get the most used and abused as the range just kind of ping pongs, you know, side to side. So, yeah, less is more. I will, yeah, that's all I got.
I'm going to try to rest my voice for the rest of the day, so we'll have a better New Year's Eve show tomorrow. But thanks, everybody, for being here. We'll see you tomorrow over on the Community Rip. Peace out.